Hey, welcome back to the May portfolio update. I hope you'll find the information in this video useful, but disclaimer, please note that this is not investing advice. It's just my portfolio as it stands on Thursday, May 1st, and it can change at any time without previous notification. Following an investment strategy without doing the work yourself is almost guaranteed to result in losses. So please be careful since it's your responsibility to do your own research before investing. In this month's bonus section, we'll talk about the elephant in the room, the US tariffs and the impact on the world. But let's not get ahead of ourselves too much and begin as usual with the portfolio activity in the past month. In April, I sold a little bit more of my Alibaba position in order to further reduce my China exposure in light of the new tariffs, now at a comfortable 1.5% level of our assets. And due to the current bad news and uncertainty, I thought it was a good time to start accumulating. Not a lot, since it can and should go down more, but prices seems to look a lot better than last quarter, so I DCA'd dollar cost average, some money into Amazon, Google, Evolution AB, and a bit of S&P 500. Surprisingly, I also bought some Restart Energy One bonds. If you remember last month, I mentioned that the owners were accused of being part of a crypto scam, but this was unrelated to the main activity of the company. Since the yield to maturity, which is February 2026, was around 78%, I added a bit more to my position. However, as I mentioned before, there were always problems with the company, and now it is in an agreement procedure that allows it to restructure debt. So we'll see how this plays out, but I have a fair chance of losing all of my money in this position or about 1% of the portfolio. If that happens, hopefully, I will learn a good lesson and join an illustrious company, including Bill Ackman, who at some point was $4 billion in the hole, or Stan Druckenmiller, who had a minus $600 million quarter. Finally, I also got a little bit more of altcoins from the Learn and Earn programs that I follow. In terms of cash flow, I just got my expected quarterly S&P 500 dividend, which should have come last month, but had a slight delay, and the coupon from a Fidelis Romanian government bond, and both were well received. That being said, the portfolio as of May 1st, 2025 is looking like this. Please pause the video if you want to analyze each investment in detail. The REO26 position mentioned of being in danger of getting wiped out can be found at number 5, and it's already down more than 50%, so the sound strategy right now is to hold and pray. We'll see if they end up bankrupt next February when the final payments is due. Theoretically, they shouldn't, but bigger surprises have happened before. That being said, the current pyramid allocation portfolio looks something like this. Overall, the portfolio was down for the third month in a row, minus 0.59%, and so the year became negative as well, with year to date returns of minus 0.4%. But remember that this includes my living expenses, which was a bit high in these 4 months and will probably be even higher next month since I need to pay the 2024 taxes, which most are already automatically paid or estimated, and also, I will go on a vacation to Cyprus where I expect to spend some more money. This reminds me to tell you that next month's video will be a bit late, a week or so, after I come back from my vacation. That being said, the pyramid portfolio actually holds pretty strong in light of not using any hedging options and the overall bad news that happened this month. My only regret is not buying more assets at discounted prices, but I somehow feel it's not too late yet. Before going to the next section, if you are interested in the subject, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps bringing this completely free information to more and more people. As mentioned at the beginning, in today's bonus section, we will talk about the big event that happened this month, the US tariffs and their potential impact on the world. So, what happened? On April 2nd, the US imposed tariffs on the whole world, allied countries and enemies alike, which caused the stock market to crash. So, what is a tariff? A tariff is a tax imposed on imported or exported goods by a government. It can be a specific amount per unit or quantity or a percentage of the value of the goods, known as an ad valorem tariff. However, there were a few issues with this. First, the way the announcement was delivered was odd and induced uncertainty, and of course, markets hate uncertainty. Secondly, the way the tariff was calculated also raised a lot of questions. For example, small countries like Lesotho having a huge reciprocal tariff placed on them. Of course, having zero deficit with every country makes no sense since you have deficits with some and surpluses with others. It's like you having a deficit with your local grocery store because you always buy food from them but they never buy anything from you, and a surplus with your employer because they pay you but you don't really consume their products or services at a similar level. And thirdly, some countries retaliated, which was predictable. Canada, Japan, EU, and of course the other global superpower, China. What's next? It's too early to tell definitely what the consequences will be, but we're witnessing the making of a new world order. No matter how this will end, one thing is sure: the US broke trust with its long term partners. La Fontaine, a French poet from the 17th century, has a beautiful fable called Two Bulls and the Frog, in which two huge bulls fight for control of a grass field close to a swamp where some frogs watch the fight. As the battle ends and one of the bulls leaves defeated, a young frog asks an older one why he is upset, and the older one responds that the defeated bull will have to leave the grass field and come to the swamp to feed, and in the process, it will step on a lot of frogs and kill them. The moral of the story is when powerful entities fight, in our case US and China, it's always the weak that suffer the most. An economic conflict between the two superpowers already started, and the countries will have to join one side or the other. What to do next? There will be some changes to the world order, and even if the US win flawlessly and it gets everything they want and more, after all, as the German band Rammstein said, we're all living in America, if we want to or not. This last part is mine. However, the damage was already done. What I expect to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? US influence in the world to drop while at the same time getting more aggressive in nature. To some degree, this is already happening with Greenland, Panama, Canada, and Vice President J.D. Vance's comments about the EU, etc. In theory, money should flow outside of the US markets. Currently, the US markets have an asymmetrical positive valuation since everyone wanted to keep their money there since it was deemed ultra safe and the ownership was assured by the rule of law. Now, it doesn't mean that the US will collapse anytime soon, but there will always be a risk, while at the same time, other markets are getting more compliant as well and provide better competition. As a result, the S&P 500 PE multiple should drop from the current level of around 27, already considered high before the tariffs, to the more average level of around 15-16. In the link below, you can see a small 3-page analysis I've done earlier this month on the topic. We'll also see more localization versus globalization, which should result either in lower GDP if there is no money printing, people should consume in theory less if things are more expensive, or higher inflation if there will be significant money printing to sustain the economy, none of which is great for the population. I actually tend towards inflation in the short term, so gold and Bitcoin should do well. If not, the dividend companies should outperform. Of course, in the pyramid portfolio, we've got all of them. The future is uncertain, but in chaos, there is always opportunity. The only thing we can do is keep investing. Anyways, that's it for today. If you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you think of the ideas. See you next month. And of course, it seems that we need to learn a little bit Chinese, so 再见.